I'm teaching 2 infant CPR classes today. I have to say that I'm so thankful that I worked that retail job during the holiday season. By the way, they asked me to come over Tuesday because I said that I was available. However, I had already agreed to go with my daughter-in-law to look at daycare centers. My son was at work, so daycare place is nice, by the way. With the retail job, since the holiday season is over, I'm working on an as-needed basis. I applied for this job. It's with a major company in Atlanta, and it is their nonprofit. They have a camp for children. I would review medical records of employees. You're looking for immunization, labs that might need to be followed up on, and then you give it to the nurse or the doctor, whoever's there. Now, that was interesting that they have nurse and doctor jobs. I'm curious if those are remote nurse jobs or if they are the camp nurse jobs, the ones to follow up once the camp starts. I got an email asking me to interview. I did the interview. It was a phone interview. And I did get an email saying they decided to go with other applicants. That's just how it is. I don't know what it was. It could be that they had a lot of viable applicants. It could be that they had some other people from the last time they did camp. It could be that there's somebody that has specific experience with that. They might have been wondering, well, why would this person that's a nurse apply for this job? That could be in the back of their head. I also applied for, I can't remember the name of the job. I applied for this one job at the local children's hospital. It's about 12 hours a week. I can't even remember what the job was, but I looked at the qualifications. It said it had 2 years of experience in healthcare, the minimum of a 2-year degree. It didn't have any certification or license requirements. So I'm like, okay, that's 12 hours a week. Let's see what happens with that. The hours are variable. Let's see what happens with that. My eyes are starting to water a little bit, so if you see something, trying to see if there's anything else that I can think of. Oh yes, I applied for Social Security survivor benefits. I reached out to them last year in June and said, do you think I might be eligible for benefits? And they said, you know, it looks like you could be. I had been told previously that I couldn't get anything, but they said, like, it looks like you could be, just make an appointment, yada, yada, yada. I made a phone appointment in December, and for some reason it went straight to voicemail. I called, they're like, hey, you're gonna have to reschedule. All right, so I had an appointment this week, Monday, and the person called me. It's actually an office in another state in Georgia, and it took a good hour and a half, and it turns out I am eligible for some benefits. There's a repeal of this windfall provision and government pension offset. I'm not crying, guys. I just put some drops in my eyes, some liquid tears. So what that does is that repeals that rule that says this crazy formula that they would calculate it to basically calculate you out of benefits. They're repealing that. It's a bill, and it's waiting to be signed by the president. Anyway, that benefit that's in the 3 figures, I'm gonna get some extra money the first month because since my retirement was effective like August the 1st, and my last paychecks and everything, they said that they would pay me for a little extra 1 month. It's complicated. It took an hour and a half, like I said. So when I tell you it took that long, they were calculating everything. How much money did you make in August? How much money did you make in September, October, November, December? How much money did you make? What was your last paycheck? How much was it? When was it? I told them about all my pension from the K through 12 job. How much is that? They needed a copy of that. They needed a copy of my marriage license. They need a copy of my late spouse's death certificate. I had to bring all that stuff in and get it scanned. The phone interview took an hour and a half. Then I had to go to the local Social Security office and wait. I mean, it was over an hour. I know it was more than an hour. It was getting close to an hour and a half, couple hours. And they called me and then they scanned in all the stuff. But some of the other things that they asked me, and you all excuse me, my eyes might be watering. It's a good thing the transitional lens. But anyway, they asked me things about how long had I been married, when did I marry, when did the spouse pass away, was he married before, does he have other children other than the ones he had with you, had I been married before, had I remarried, was I married before I married him, what did I marry after I married him? They're asking all kind of things. And if you would have been married after your spouse, they would ask you, did you marry after you were 60 or before? So it was 100 zillion questions, and then they go into your work history. I mean, they went as far back as when I was a teenager. I'm like, wow, I forgot I worked there. They're like, that was in 19 whatever. This was in 2000. This was in the 1990s. This was in the 1980s. I mean, they went all the way back. The time that I worked in California before I came to Atlanta, I wasn't penalized in any way because of that. It seemed like the main thing way I was penalized was because of those, the fact that I had a pension. So because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get something. Okay, so I did get something, and with the Social Security Fairness Act, once it gets signed into Congress, then Social Security is going to have to find all the people impacted by whether it's GPO, government pension offset, that's widows or widowers, or windfall elimination provision, which I'm impacted by because I worked a K through 12 job that did not take out Social Security. This could apply to other places that don't take out a Social Security. I just don't want you to think that it's just that place. So, and it doesn't matter if you worked at other jobs. I mean, there's people that work part-time jobs while they work K through 12. So they're like, oh, since you have this pension, we're gonna penalize you. No. So anywho, yeah, that's what's going on with that. So once that was all done and I got everything dropped off, this was the other thing about the interview, because before I had heard that you could take the survivor benefit and then you could stay on that survivor benefit until your full retirement age and you would get more money, or you could, let me put it this way. If you stay on it after your full retirement age, each year it's an 8% increase in your benefit. So let's just say, if you took it at 62, you wouldn't get that 8%. If you took it at 69, well, in my case, I think my full retirement is 67. It could go up. Okay, so if I took it at 66, I wouldn't get that 8%. But if on my 68th birthday or something, I would get at least an 8% increase. Every year, each year, it's another 8% increase. So you could take the survivor until in my case, I could take it until I'm 70, and then I would have had all those years for it to increase. Yeah, so that's really great news. The other thing was with my expenses and everything, I tell you that retail job helped. And once I did all my expenses, I'm not saying I only have this amount of money left. I'm just saying based on the income I had come in, I had $62 to spare, guys. Okay? And I'm not saying I only have $62. I'm saying based on the income that I got in of that $62. And when I tell you, I breathed a sigh of relief. And so with this survivor benefit coming, and with it's going to be this increase that should come with the survivor benefit by the summer. That's the other thing that the Social Security office said. They're like, it's good that you go ahead and get the benefits, so when they recalculate it, you'll already be in the system. So it could be potentially, it could take up to the summer of 2025. It could be sooner before I get the increase. But when I tell you all the expenses, because the hospital, they canceled a lot of the classes. So I was just like, oh my gosh, thank God. And I had this one payment, so I'm like, okay, that's paid. So my credit card balance due, okay, I just looked on there and realized they took out for my AAA annual membership, because now they don't let you do monthly bill pay. So I have to pay that. And then I said it's about, on this other card, it's about $700 due. Okay? So I'm just like, woo. These are the kind of things that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for major big things and small things. So I'm like, okay, I was concerned because, I hope that this retail money is enough for me to cover all these bills because they canceled a lot of the hospital jobs, and I didn't have any contract jobs pretty much this month because none of them were viable locations for me. So anyway, I'm so grateful that, and the other thing is, I have these corporate bonds, so I'm like, oh, okay, I remember I bought a small amount of a corporate bond, so it looks like one's going to be coming up. It'll probably be somewhere between $200 to $400. I'm like, okay, put that in my account, and then I just do that process of start billing it up for the next set of bills. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm like, whoo, I'm good through until like January the 15th, and that's when the next set of bill cycles. And I'm just like, well, that money from that interest should be enough to cover most of like the major things, like help with utility bills and everything. She just send me the money from her account. But I am scheduled to teach a class in Atlanta proper. I bid for it because it's in the afternoon, and I want to take that drive to get a sense of the traffic and everything. I'm thinking about going ahead and driving over there and getting a sense of the traffic. And the person at the contractor company asked me to bid for some other classes in Atlanta, and I just simply said I'm not available, which it was true. I'm not available until I get a sense of that first one. That's just really how it is. I'm not going to sign up for a bunch of classes and then it's like, oh my gosh, that drive really is terrible. There's this other contractor job that I interviewed for. I mean, this has been going on since September. They're bidding for a contract, and I haven't worked with them for one time, but they've requested all my information, and they're like, we're bidding for a government contract. They've asked me background check and all kind of other things. I think they want you to background test and also drug tests. And that's that. This other company, so the first two I talked about, the first one is viable. The second one I think is viable, but it's going to take a while. The third one, I don't know that it's viable because they asked me to work a job out in Birmingham, Alabama. And then I did a screenshot and sent them a picture of where I live and where Birmingham is. And the drive was over 2.5 hours. And I said, you realize that I live in Georgia and this is over 2.5 hour drive. Yeah, but we'll pay you mileage for the drive. That doesn't fix the wear and tear on the job. As far as I'm concerned, as soon as I pull out, they should pay me for those 4 hours. You know, that 5 hours of driving, they should pay me for at least half of that driving. Plus pay me the fee. So I just told them, I sent them a message saying, unless you have something in Atlanta, please don't contact me unless you have something that that aligns with my requests. They apologized. So, and I said, plus you didn't even invite me to come observe the class. This center is in Atlanta that they told me that I would be teaching at. I'm like, I need to look on that contract and see how long is that contract. I think the contracts are for like a year or something like that. I mean, they asked me to go out to Alabama. Can you imagine? And they fixed their face. They didn't offer me to pay me for the travel time. They didn't offer me extra for driving out there. If you work in the hospital and it's a shortage, they'll pay you plus 50 an hour, plus 35 an hour. Plus. It's like, come on now. I just, kind of like, don't insult me. I'm just doing that to keep up my certifications. I'll get some classes at this co-work space and just offer some free classes or something to get those American Heart Association classes. I already have at least one person that's asked for the class, so I'm just going to tell her I'm only doing American Heart Association. So, okay, guys, so that's going to be it. I'm going to turn on the navigator now. I'll talk to y'all later.